What innocent thing did you do that made someone absolutely lose their mind? My coworker Maureen literally vibrated with rage while pointing at Professor Whiskers, claiming the sock puppet in my hand was workplace intimidation and creating a hostile environment with what she called my psychological warfare tool. The HR director kept glancing between us like she was watching a nature documentary about office workers losing their minds. This whole disaster started 3 months ago when my therapist suggested I try externalization therapy for my ADHD. Basically, instead of beating myself up internally about forgetting tasks, I was supposed to talk to myself through an object to make reminders feel less harsh and more playful. I spent Saturday night crafting Professor Whiskers from an old Argyle sock with googly eyes and orange yarn for hair. He looked like something a kindergartner would make after too much sugar, but that was the point because it's hard to feel bad when a lopsided sock is reminding you about spreadsheets. Every morning I'd pull out Professor Whiskers to go through my daily tasks while he perched on my computer monitor like a demented owl. Sometimes I'd have full conversations where Professor Whiskers would scold me in a terrible British accent for procrastinating on expense reports or congratulate me for remembering that vendor meeting. My productivity shot through the roof, and my supervisor even complimented me on being more organized. Life was going pretty well until Maureen transferred to our department from the 3rd floor. Maureen took the desk across from mine and immediately started staring at Professor Whiskers like he personally insulted her ancestors. Within a week, she complained to our supervisor that the puppet was watching her, but our supervisor suggested she move desks if a sock bothered her that much. Maureen bought a privacy screen claiming Professor Whiskers was reading her emails and started sending company-wide messages about hostile work environments created by textile-based psychological weapons. Then she insisted on wearing sunglasses indoors because she claimed the puppet's malevolent gaze was giving her migraines, and she'd loudly announce, "I'm being threatened by yarn and googly eyes again," like Paul Revere warning about the British. By week 3, she was carrying a hand mirror to check if the puppet was looking at her and had started a spreadsheet tracking every puppet appearance with timestamps and intimidation ratings from 1 to 10. She started eating lunch at her desk to monitor Professor Whiskers full-time and installed a webcam pointed at my workspace claiming it was for security purposes. The facilities manager had to intervene when she tried building a cardboard barrier between our desks, decorated with pictures of puppet-free work environments from stock photo websites. Then one Tuesday, I was using Professor Whiskers to remind myself about quarterly reports, and Maureen erupted from her chair like a volcano of business casual fury. She marched to HR clutching a binder heavy enough to use as a weapon and filed a formal complaint with 15 pages of documentation, including blurry photos of Professor Whiskers from different angles with red circles around his googly eyes. She demanded I be terminated or forced to undergo psychiatric evaluation for what she described as sociopathic puppet manipulation designed to break her spirit. HR had no choice but to call this ridiculous meeting where Maureen presented her case like she was prosecuting war crimes. She created a 47-slide PowerPoint with titles like The Puppet Stares, A Timeline of Terror and Googly Eyes of Oppression, Evidence of Deliberate Targeting, and my personal favorite, Argyle Pattern Analysis, Hidden Messages of Hostility with arrows pointing at nothing. She brought 3 witnesses who looked like they'd rather be getting colonoscopies and stammered through testimony about noticing there was definitely a sock at my desk. When she pulled up a Wikipedia article about psychological warfare claiming puppet-based intimidation was a known tactic used by corporate saboteurs, we knew she'd completely lost it. She actually said, "Professor Whiskers is a calculated assault on my psyche, designed to create an environment of fear through sustained ocular aggression while maintaining deadly seriousness." My turn to respond arrived, and I reached into my bag pulling out Professor Whiskers along with my therapist's letter. But before I could start reading, Maureen pointed at the puppet shouting that I was trying to intimidate her right there in the meeting. The guy from accounting suddenly shot up and pulled a sock puppet from his own briefcase shaped like a dinosaur, announcing his name was Rex, and he helped with anxiety attacks. The woman from customer service dove into her purse revealing a finger puppet named Senor Guapo she used for difficult client calls. Within 5 minutes, 7 different people had produced puppets from bags and desk drawers like a therapeutic puppet flash mob, including the head of IT who had an entire family of finger puppets for conflict resolution. The HR director sat there with her jaw unhinged while half the office performed an impromptu puppet show about their mental health struggles. Maureen's face achieved a shade of purple usually reserved for beetroots as she watched her coworkers make their puppets introduce themselves while she backed into a corner muttering about puppet conspiracies. Then Rex the dinosaur accused Maureen of stealing everyone's lunches from the break room, and Senor Guapo confirmed seeing her take last Thursday's turkey club with someone's name in permanent marker. Maureen tried denying it, but Rex started listing specific sandwiches and leftover Chinese food, including someone's anniversary dinner, and suddenly everyone was connecting dots about their missing meals. The HR director asked Maureen directly if she'd been taking people's food, and Maureen completely lost it, screaming, "Those puppets are lying about me," which was probably the most unhinged sentence ever uttered in that conference room. Security found her desk drawer full of stolen Tupperware, and she was escorted from the building an hour later still ranting about the puppet conspiracy while clutching her binder like the Holy Grail.